Okay, so today we will be discussing the paper of January 2023, forenoon paper, so morning paper. So I've already discussed the afternoon paper. So today we'll be discussing the forenoon paper. So this is the first question. So we are given here the manual page of the echo command. So in this, a few flags are given, and then the question is, what will be the output of the following script? We have 4 echo commands. We are printing A tab B, and tab space tab C, space tab D, and then space tab E tab F. So notice we have dash E flag, which allows us to use escape characters like tab in our quotes. And we also have the flag N, which prevents a new line after each echo. So after the first echo, the cursor will not go to the next line. It will simply print side by side. So here we are simply printing the letters A to F with tab between each of them. So it will be A tab B, space tab C, space tab D, space tab E, tab F. So it will be A to F side by side with tabs between them. So the other options are incorrect where they have them on separate lines, and the tab will be correctly escaped because we are using the E flag. So option B is the correct option. So let's move on to the next one. So this is a cron question. So we have seen a very similar question in the previous paper. So in this one also, we are given the details of how cron scheduling works. And then we are asked what is the time at which this will be run. So here we have 50 star star 1. Star star means these values are not used. So for any of that value. So 5 is the minute and 0 is the hour. So 0 hour 5 minutes means at 12:05 a.m. at night. And we have 1 here, which means Monday. So this will run on every Monday at 05. So as you can see, that is the correct option here. So the next question is, we have a CSV file like this, and this is the input, and our output should be the first and the second field, and they should be on new lines. So each record should not take 2 lines. So the first column should be printed, then the second column should be printed. So this we can do by using awk. So what we can do is we can simply set the field separator to be comma, so we get the fields correctly. So for example, let me create a temporary file where we have, let's say, the name of the person, the age of the person, and the gender of the person, and maybe some number. So I can just add a few other data like that. So now if so in here, if I now use awk and if I set the field separator to be comma, so here if I simply print the $1, it will only print the first one of the first column. So first columns will be printed. Similarly, I can print the second column. So if I simply print the first column and the second column side by side, this is concatenation in awk. So they will print together without anything between them. But here, if I want something in between them, there are 2 ways I can do that. Either I can use a comma, so then it will use the output field separator to separate them. So here it is a space, or I can set the output field separator. So there are multiple ways to set that. Either I can set it in the begin flags, begin blocks. I can say output field separator is a comma, and then it will put a comma instead of a space. Similarly, I can set the output field separator to be new line as well. So now you can see this is what we desired. So this is one way of solving this question. You get the first and the second column separated on different lines because OFS is new line. We can also set the OFS outside the script. So we can use the -v, and I can set OFS to be \n. And then also we'll have the same output. Third way of solving this is without using OFS. So instead of using a comma, I can directly put another string, which is the new line between these two. So it will automatically concatenate these 3 strings, and we also don't need the -v. So then we will get the correct output as well. So this is a few of the options. So the first option is correct where we do this. So we simply take the field separator to be comma and we print $1, new line, $2. The second one, we are using OFS to be \n, but we have not used a comma. So if we want to use the OFS, we have to put comma between the arguments. So this is not there. That's why it is wrong. In the third one, we have a comma, but instead of OFS, we are using ORS, which is the output record separator. So this will not work. And similarly, in the fourth one, we have new line and a comma. So this will also give us space between before the second argument. So this is not correct. So only the first one is correct. Let's move on to the next one. So in this question, this is an awk script where we are checking if the n is less than FNR for every line. So FNR, as we know, is the line number for each file. So it is a file-wise line number. So if you have 10 files, every time the file number will reset to 1 when we are in the first line of that file. So we are simply using a variable n, and whenever FNR is greater than n, we simply set n equals FNR. So this is storing the maximum file number, and also we are setting the NF to be the file name. So this will simply always update the file name. So the variable NF with the file name whenever we find a file who has a higher number of line number. In the end, we are simply printing the NF. So this is simply printing the name of only that file given, like among all the files given to the awk script, which has the highest number of lines. So if there are same number of lines which is highest, or so only the first one will be printed, because we are checking n is lesser than FNR and not n is lesser than equal to. If it was n is lesser than equal to, then we would be printing the last file's name, whereas which among the highest ones. Whereas because it's n lesser than FNR, we are printing only the first file's name, which is highest. So the file name with the maximum number of lines among the files that are passed as the arguments is printed. So let's move on to the next one. So in this, we are running a while loop, and we are reading line one by one. So we are doing while read our line, and it's a while loop. And we are taking the lines from the file called file1, and whatever this while loop is printing, that we are storing in file2. Right? And in this, we are checking if line matches this regex. So what is the regex? It has to start with 1 digit, followed by any character any number of times, maybe even 0. And then it has to again end with a digit. So this is basically any line that starts with a digit and ends with a digit. It can also be just 1 digit also. Sorry, it cannot be 1 digit. It has to be more than 1 digit. So it has to be minimum of 2 digits. And only for those lines, we are printing that line, and that we are storing in file2. So file1 is the file we are reading from, and file2 is those lines of file1 which match this pattern, which has a minimum of 2 digits, one at the front and one at the last of that line. So then we are printing the difference between file1 and file2. So diff will only print those lines which are uncommon. So because file2 is generated totally from file1, there won't be any line in file2 which is not in file1. So diff of file1 and file2 will only consist of lines in file1 which is not there in file2. Namely, the lines that don't follow this pattern. So the question is, select a scenario from the options upon such that upon execution of the above script, no lines will be printed to the terminal. So if you want no lines to be printed, then there should be no such line which does not match this. So all the lines should match this pattern. So now these are the options. File1 and file2 have the same number of lines. So the number of lines does not matter. The content of the file matters. So file2 being the copy of file1. So, and then third option is file2 containing all lines that start and end with a number. So as we said, file2, whatever it contains does not matter, because we are overwriting that contents. So only what is there in file1 that matters. And the last option is file1 containing all the lines that starts and ends with a number. So what this means is all the lines of file1 start and end with a number. So all the lines match this pattern. Thus, all the lines of file1 will be same as all the lines of file2. So the reason option 2 and option 1 or option 2 and option 3 are not correct is because whatever contents the file2 has, that does not matter, because it is being overwritten by this script. So even if file2 is a copy of file1, if we simply run diff file1, file2, we will not get any output. But because we are also overwriting file2 with this, so all that matters is the file1. So if the file1 only contains lines that start and end with a number, only then the script will have no output. That is how we solve this question. So in the next question, what will be the output of the following command? So here we are printing the following thing: a dot dot c 1 dot dot 3. So when we have brace expansions and we don't have any space between them, it will take a combination of the expansions. So it will be a1, a2, a3, b1, b2, b3, c1, c2, c3. So let us also see that. If I do echo a dot dot c, then this will print ABC. If I do echo 1 dot dot 3, this will print 1, 2, 3. If I do a dot dot c space 1 dot dot 3, it will print, it will expand this first and then it will expand this. So we'll get ABC and 1, 2, 3. But if we don't have any space, then it will basically take combinations. So it will be A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3. So we expand and we get this. Then we simply substitute the space with a new line. So instead of printing it then in a one line with space separation, we simply make these as a new line separated. So we get them each element in a line. And then we are passing the awk script, like we're passing this output through the input of a awk script. And here for each line, we are adding count plus equals nf. So nf is the number of fields, which is always 1. Count 2 plus equals nr. So this is the line number, which is increasing from 1 till 9. So we have 3 times 3, 9 combinations. And count 3 is simply length plus 1. So length is a function, but if we don't provide any argument to it, then length will take the value of the length of the entire line. So the first one is very simple to see. So because we have 9 lines and we are always adding 1 to it, so it will be 9 times 1, which is 9 itself. In the next one, we are adding the line number from 1 to n. So we are basically, so in the first one, we are doing 1 plus 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 1. So 9 ones. So we get the output as 1. 9. And in the second one, we are doing 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9. So here we should get the output of 45. And in the last one, we are basically adding the length plus 1. So length is always 2 and length plus 1 is always 3. So we basically get 3 times 9, which is 27. So answer should be 9, 45, and 27. That is the output of this question. So in this next question, we have which of the following commands would print lines with Alice or Rabbit with total count of their occurrences at the end of the output from alice.txt file. So here what we want to do is we want to print whether there is Alice or there is Rabbit. We want to print all those lines. So for printing lines, we can simply use grep. So we can either use BRE or we can use ERE. So if you're using BRE, we have to escape the pipe. If you're using ERE, then we don't need to escape the pipe. So if we do grep Alice or Rabbit, alice.txt, this will print all the lines that have either Alice or Rabbit. Then we can again use the same command, but we can also use -c to print the number of lines that are the output. So in the second one, it is not correct because we are passing output of one grep into another grep. So that is not what we want. We want output of this as well as output of this, not just the output of this. And similarly, the first one also is incorrect for the same reason. So that is how we solve this question. So in this question, we have to basically select the option which will, so this set command that will filter lines with abbreviated regions. So as you can see, regions that have basically capital letters and are abbreviated. So Meghalaya is not, but GA, HR, all these, AN, these are abbreviated. KA, these are abbreviated. So basically the region is the last field, so we can directly check the end of the line. So the solution is the first, second, and the fourth option. So what we're doing is we are searching for all those lines which have capital A to Z present at least once. So it can be present once or it can be present more than once. So if we are matching once, so even if it is present 2 times, the last one will still match. So we can match 1 as well. And we can also totally drop this curly bracket and one thing that will also match it exactly once. And only for those lines, we print the line. And for other lines, we don't print because we have the -n. So similarly, in the second one, you can see, so in the first one, we did not match any comma. But in the second one, we are matching a comma. So if we are matching a comma, we should obviously match two uppercase characters, because a state when abbreviated will be two characters. So here, instead of using A to Z, we are using the colon upper colon, which is also the same thing. And because we are matching a comma, we have to match the entire thing. So we are matching two characters and not just one. And for such lines, we are printing. Otherwise, we are not printing using the -n. So in the third one, we are using alnum. So a number cannot be part of a state code abbreviation. That's why this is not correct. And the fourth one is also same as the second one. But in this, we are not using a comma. We are directly matching. If there is two uppercase characters at the end of the line, then we are printing it. So option 1, option 2, and option 4 are the correct options for this question. So in this question, we are seeing which command can do the following. So we have to print lines with Alice or Rabbit from alice.txt. So this is similar to the question we saw earlier, but that was using grep, and now we have to do it using sed. So in this, we have 4 options. So in the first option, we are using extended regex. So if you're using extended regex, we should not escape the pipe. That's why this is a wrong option. In the second option, we are using extended regex and -n to not print by default. And we are substituting Alice or Rabbit with nothing. So we are removing Alice or Rabbit, but we are still not printing anything. So this is also incorrect. So we should not substitute anything. We should only print for those lines where this is present. So that is what we have done in the third and the fourth one. So third one is BRE. That's why we have escaped the pipe. So if there is Alice or Rabbit, then we print that line. Otherwise, we don't print because -n. And the fourth one is extended regex, and we don't print by default. And if there is Alice or Rabbit, so we don't escape the pipe because it is extended regex. And then we print, otherwise we don't print. So that's why option 3 and 4 are the correct options for this question. So let's see the next question. So contents of the current window directory are given below. So we can use ls -r to recursively list all the files and folders in the current directory. So we can see in the current directory, we have two folders, A and B. And folder A has 5 files, file 0 to file 4. And folder B has, again, 5 files, file 10, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then we have to do select all files that will be present in the current working directory after execution of the following script. So this is the following script. We are doing cd-a. So we are going inside folder A. Then we are doing for in star. So we are simply going over all the files in A. So this will be file 0, file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4. And then we are listing out all the files in /b. So / means the parent directory. So again, we go into the current directory of the starting of the question. Then we go inside the B folder. And in there, if the $I is present, so basically if file 0 is present or if file 1 is present, then we move that file. So the file basically which is in still in folder A. So we move that into the /b. So after this, we are asking which files are remaining in the folder A. So current directory after execution will still be the folder A. So let us see each file one by one. So is file 0 there in file B? So no, that is not there. So it remains. So file 0 is the answer. So file 0 still remains in the current directory. Is file 1 there in the folder B? So although there is no file 1 in the folder B, but we have file 10. And when we are doing grep will match any substring. So file 1 is a string that matches the file 10 substring. So that's why even though file 1 is not there, file 10 is there, but still the file 1 will be moved from folder A into folder B. So that's why this file 1 will not be there in the current directory after this script. So file 1 is not current. Again, we see file 2. So there is no file 2 in this directory. So because there is no file 2 in here, so file 2 will not be moved. So file 2 will remain here as it is. So that's why file 2 is also part of the answer. So as you can see, there is file 3 in this directory. So file 3 will be moved from folder A into folder B. and file 3 will not be there in the folder A anymore. That's why file 3 is not an answer. And similarly, file 4 is there in folder B. So the grep will be true. And then we move this file 4 from folder A into folder B, and it will no longer be there in folder A. So after the script has stopped executing, the folder A will only have file 0 and file 2. So that's why those are the two correct options. And obviously the file 5 and 6 were never there, so they will never be there in those. And similarly, file 10. So let's move on to the next question. So in this question, we are told for the given regular expression, identify the correct statement from the following options. Note that extended regular expression or ERE is used. So hint, the group number starts from the outer to inner and left to right respectively. Note a word, phrase, or sequence that reads the same backwards and forwards is called a palindrome. So it's not mentioned the name, but examples are given: known, Anna, etc. So here we have nested groupings. So you might be confused how the numbering will be done, but that is also given as a hint. So if they have a nested grouping, the numbering is done from outer to inner and left to right. So the outer group is group 1. This group is group 2. So let us store this in a file here and let us count the group numbers. So this is the group 1, and then this is the group 2, and then this is the group 3, this is the group 4, this is the group 5. So we have total 5 groups. So what are we trying to see here? So we are saying start of line and end of line. So basically the entire line is matched, and in the entire line, if we have a group where we have one character followed by the same character, right? So this is group 2 and followed by the group 2 again. So one character followed by the same character, or this is group 3, right? Because we saw the numbering is outer, then inner, left to right. So this is group 2, this is group 3. So one character followed by another character, followed by again the first character, right? So this is group 3, and then another character, and then same as group 3. So whether this, or we have total of 4 characters, and this is 4th group, 5th group, and then same character as 5th group and same character as 4th group. So this is basically 3 types of palindromes. So this will be 2-letter palindrome, 3-letter palindrome, and 4-letter palindrome. So here we are checking. So this is the 2-letter palindrome, this is the 3-letter palindrome, and this is the 4-letter palindrome. So that's why these last 3 options are correct. And we are obviously not matching any 1-letter palindrome in this case. So let's move on to the next question. So in this question, we are given a man page of how xargs works and how seq command works. So let us see the question. So in this question, select the bash function cdlmd that changes the current working directory to the recently modified directory in the current directory. So we basically cd into the last modified directory. So here what we are doing is we are doing ls. So we are listing all the files and folders, and we are doing head 1. So ls will have the output in the order of the alphabetical order. So if we are taking head 1, we just get the first file or folder in the alphabetical listing. So that is not what we want. We want the first in the order of the modification. So the last modified file. So this is not correct, and we also cannot directly pipe a directory into cd. We have to use the xargs command. So for both these reasons, this option is incorrect. So in the second option, we are doing ls minus t. So we will get the ls output sorted by the time modification, and then we use minus d to get only directories in our current directory, and we then give the */glob to only match the directories in our current directory. And out of those directories, we are then passing all the answers into XRs. So XRs will basically do CD, directory 1, directory 2, directory 3, etc. Whereas CD will only take one directory. So as you can see, there is no dot dot after CD. So that's why this option is incorrect, where we are giving all the directories to CD. So the third option is correct. So we are first using ls minus t to sort the output of ls in a modified manner. So the last modified is at top, and then we're using minus d star slash to get only directories and not files. And then we're using head 1 to get only the first entry of ls, which is the last modified directory. Then we pass that to xargs cd to cd into that directory. And the fourth option is not correct because here we're using lsg. So we can see what is lsg. So lsg is like L, but do not list order. So if I do lsg, as you can see, this will do a long listing. So we don't want a long listing, because if I pass the output of a long listing into cd, this will try to go into a folder like this, which is not correct. So only the third option is correct. So let us see the next question. So here the question is theoretical and pretty straightforward. So which of the following commands print all the keys present in a bash associative array? If you want to print all the keys of a bash associative array, you simply run this command. So let us also see that in action. So let's say I have a associative array called ARR, and let me add some things to it. So for example, I say Dan equals 1, Feb equals 2, etc. So let me add maybe one more. So now if I do echo ARR square bracket, this will give me the values and not the keys. And if I want the keys, I can use the exclamation here to get the values. So note, in associative arrays, the order of accessing them can be in any order. It might not be in the order in which they were declared. But if we're using exclamation, we will get the keys. Otherwise, we will get the values. So that's why this is the correct option. So let's see the next question. So in here, we have a student named Meena who wrote a shell script called exoc.sh, says that every time main.py is changed, that is, there is a change in modification time, the shell script is executed on Python script file. So this is the script. So what it is doing is it is running an infinite loop using while true do done. And then we are seeing the last modified time, lmt equals to stat minus c %y, and then $1. So we are taking the argument from the script itself, and we are using the argument, and we are checking the last modified time of that argument. Then we are checking if the last modified time is equal to the previous last modified time. So we are basically checking if the previous last modified time is the last modified time. So if the file is not modified between the two iterations of this loop, that is from the last time when we checked the modification time and now when we are checking the modification time, they are the same. So if they are the same, then we clear the screen and we print the date. Then we start the script. So we start the script Python 3 $1, and then we end the script. So after the end of the script, we print this. And then outside the if, we set the plmt to be lmt, and we slip for 1 second. And this loop will keep on iterating. And this is the execution. So we basically provide the name of the script to the standard in. So there are a lot of things incorrect in this. So as you can see, we are providing the name of the script in standard in, whereas we are accessing it using the first argument. Similarly, when it is the file has not modified, at that time we are running the file and using Python instead of when it is modified. And also we have a shebang of Python instead of bash. So there are a lot of things which is wrong in this script. So then the question is, her code has some issues. Identify all the flaws. So obviously the incorrect interpreter in the first line, which is the shebang. Second is incorrect condition in if statement. So as we saw, it has to be does not equal to, whereas it is given as equals equals. So if the modification time has not changed, that is when LMT equals PLMT. So that time we should not do anything. It should only be done if it is not equal. So if it has changed, that is incorrect. Incorrect assignment to the LMT value. So that is not true. The LMT is assigned correctly. Similarly, PLMT is simply equals to LMT. So that is also correct. And this is also incorrect because we are accessing the file name using $1. So we should run it like this by giving it as argument and not in standard input. Right? And obviously we cannot run a script this way unless it's in our path. So only if the script is in our path, we can run it without a /. Otherwise, we have to always run it with a /. So that's why these three options are the correct options for this question. So let's go into the next question. So in this, the question is, what will be the output of the following command? Sed -i. So find any character. So dot means any character. And for any character, till the last. So from the first line, which is non-empty, till the last line, don't delete that line. So delete all the lines till before that. So we will basically delete all the empty lines from the start of the file. And we will stop deleting when the first non-empty line comes. And we are doing it directly on that file. So we are doing it in place. So the first option, delete all empty lines, that is not true. We only delete all the empty lines, which is at the total start of the file. So if the file starts with a non-empty line, then nothing will be deleted. So then the question is, delete all empty lines before the first non-empty line in the file. So this is the correct option. The second option is delete all lines with dot. So this dot is not a literal dot. This means any character. And the fourth option is delete all non-empty lines after the last non-empty. So this is not true. So we are matching the first non-empty line. And we are deleting everything before that. So that's why this option is the correct option. So that is the January 2023 phone noon paper.